Welcome everybody. We're here at the Orange Whip Golf Fitness X World Headquarters in Easley, South Carolina. My name is Steve. I'm the Director of Marketing with Orange Whip, and I'm joined with Jim Hackenberg, the owner and developer of Orange Whip Golf and the #1 training products in golf. How you doing today, Jim?
I'm wonderful.
Great. It's awesome to be in this wonderful facility. We're in the teaching and training area. We can hit some full shots in here. We do all of our testing and all of our practicing in here. So it's come a long way, hasn't it?
Oh, we got a 24-foot by 24-foot putting green. We can hit 20 yards before we hit the back net. So yeah, we've got a great center for testing Orange Whip products and just working on your golf game.
Yeah, and it's been about 12 years since the Orange Whip made its debut at the PGA show, right?
January 2008.
January 2008. Well, let's get back to where it all started. What got you into the game of golf, and how did you get motivated to where we are today?
So I grew up in North Dakota, as did Steve, and I'm from a large family. I'm number 8 of 9 kids. No one in my family played golf. My parents didn't play. My brothers and sisters did not play. I was a baseball player as a kid. I was a hockey player as a kid. I played football. I played basketball. I played all the sports, but golf was never on my horizon. And then one day I think I was 12 years old. It was 1980. Some buddies of mine said, "Hey, Jimmy, let's go to the golf course. Just come along and see what you think." So I took a set of clubs that actually we had in our garage, but no one ever used. My dad got them at a garage sale, thinking somebody might one day play. And they were called Louise Suggs Specials. And she played on the LPGA Tour, and they were not very good clubs. So I carried out this canvas bag with like 6 clubs in it and walked around with my buddies. But my clubs were so bad, I didn't even really use them. I just carried the bag, and then I'd use their clubs because they had much more quality equipment. And I tell you what, almost immediately I figured out this game is something I could do on my own, or I could do it with a group of friends. And when you hit a shot, when you connected with one shot, it was like, wow, that was a great experience. So I got hooked on it and started playing as often as I could. But the dilemma with North Dakota is we're limited on time. So I was trying to fit baseball and golf into my summers. And by the time I was 13, I said, you know what, I think golf is my focus. I think something I can enjoy every day. So I had to give up baseball, and I focused on golf. And I'd hop on my little BMX bike, throw my golf clothes on my back, and I'd pedal the 1 mile to Ray Richards Golf Course, and I'd play all day long. Go there early in the morning after eating breakfast, have soda and candy bars for lunch, and then go home for dinner. And then I'd do a little, when I got back home, we'd have dinner with the family, and then we still had daylight until almost 10 p.m. in North Dakota. So I'd go out in my backyard where we had a field. We called it the field. That's where the grade school played all their soccer, football, track. They'd run track and field and cross country. Well, that became my driving range. So every night I'd go out with a couple of shag balls, and I'd just hit balls in this field every which direction. Now, I didn't have any control, and I would eventually once in a while hit all the houses on my block. So my neighbors weren't always pleased with my golf, but no broken windows. So I was fortunate. I would never have found golf if it wasn't for those friends. And fortunately, it was a welcoming community, the golfers in North Dakota, so I quickly adopted to the game.
Yeah, like you said, growing up in North Dakota, you got a long layoff in the winter with the snow and the cold temperatures. But that led, your introduction into the game, that led into some competitive junior golf and high school golf where you said, hey, I may be able to make a living out of this somehow.
That's exactly right, because I didn't know where I wanted to go in life. I mean, I had kind of a science mind. I figured I would go towards engineering or something that would, as a career, or even architecture. I like drawing and draftsman stuff. But sports-wise, golf always kept my interest. It flew past every other sport, and it became what motivated me. Even in the wintertime, I would do drills and things to try to keep my game in shape for the upcoming season. But it was really where it all snapped into place was my sophomore year in high school. I'm an average golfer. I played on the varsity on our team, but I was an 81 as an average shooter. So not very great. He was a pretty average guy. I went to the state tournament that year in Fargo, North Dakota. I shoot 71, and I took the lead in the state high school tournament. I was 10 shots better than my average. It was the best score I ever shot. My name is in the paper. There's pictures of me in the paper. My head exploded. I was like, I'm going to pursue golf because this is where I want to go. And one way or another, I was going to try to make it as a golfer. And it's really was that moment in time. But uniquely, another moment in that same exact time, I got paired together with a kid named Patrick Moore, who was an 8th grader. So he's 2 years younger than me. And the third guy in our group was Gary Kaiser, who was a guy 1 year older. And Gary was just a natural, pure talent for golf. And we all thought Gary would win the tournament. Well, Patrick Moore, the 8th grader, had a tremendous day. I believe he shot 1 under the final day, and he beat all of us. And at that moment, I started to be kind of interested and curious about this kid, because he's an 8th grader and he hit it longer than I did, better than I did, putted it better than I did. So I'd see him at all these junior tournaments, and my goal was always to beat or stay close to Pat because he could play. And we're going to get back to Pat in a little bit during this whole story, because he's a big motivation behind all this.
Yeah, he's one of the legends in North Dakota. So that's a cool story. But then after high school, you kind of spread your wings out a little bit, and you were getting better at golf, and you went down to Arizona, and Arizona State, which is known for their golf down in the Arizona States and that part of the country, and you decided to give it a shot to play on the Arizona State college team, correct?
Exactly, yeah. I graduated in fall of '86, moved to Arizona probably September or October of '86. Did not go to school that year. I took a year off, and my goal was to work on my golf game, but I didn't have much money, so I had to work at a golf course. Did not own a vehicle, so I was living with my brother and his wife and their young daughter, Mandy, and there was a golf course about a mile from their house. So going back to my early roots, I would ride a bicycle every day to work and the golf course, and I used to carry my clubs on my back the first week or two, but they said, well, Jimmy, you can leave your clubs here. So they let me store them. But I worked on my game, and then the very next year I went to Arizona State and went to the walk-on tryouts at Arizona State University and ended up winning the qualifier. And it was a great event because there was 60 or 70 guys trying to get one spot. And you had to shoot course rating or below to even, if you win, you had to still beat the course rating to get on. So I got on the team, and that was the year Phil Mickelson was a freshman, so had a chance to play golf with Phil Mickelson a number of times that year and a half I was on the golf team.
Wow, not many people get that opportunity. Phil Mickelson, he was the golf wonder back in the day, and he's still playing competitively. What about his game? Did you bring anything from his game, watching him play every day, that said, man, this is how I need to play to be successful?
It was interesting. I have a really interesting story about Phil. We were playing Arizona Country Club, and we both hit it into the right trees. I blocked it, he pulled it. We start walking. Back in the day, we're carrying our golf bags. He was walking to his golf ball as fast as he could. He was beelining for it, and he was optimistic, chin up, and he was just ready to get to his ball and make birdie from the trees. I, on the other hand, was criticizing my swing, and I was technical kind of a guy, and why'd I do this and why'd I do that, and hang on tight. So I'm kind of bemoaning myself, almost bringing myself down where he is on the upper end. And I got to thinking about that. It's like, well, he approached this situation with an optimistic viewpoint. I went in with a very negative viewpoint. So I've tried to learn from that, and I still sometimes will get to the negative side. But if I can pull out of it and stay optimistic and positive, that was the best thing I took from Phil. Phil was unlike any other golfer I'd known. Most golfers were critical and kind of angry about things at times. Phil was always on the positive, and he also knew in his mind he was going to beat you, and he believed it. And that's a hard thing to train yourself to do, but he did it. So I admire him, and I'm glad to see his accomplishments.
Yeah, but you didn't end up spending your entire college career at Arizona State, correct?
Nope. I was there's 12 guys on the team, and the top 5 traveled to the events. That was a very difficult team to break into that top 5. So I was basically a bench warmer, but on the best team in the country, because I left after a year and a half on the team and transferred to Oregon State in January of 1990. Now, Arizona State ended up winning the NCAA tournament that spring of 1990. The reason I moved to Oregon State was our assistant coach at ASU became head coach at Oregon State, and he encouraged me to come up because he goes, Jimmy, you can play on our top 5 here. Come on up and play for me at Oregon State. So I became a Beaver and moved on up to Oregon State and started to really like the colors orange and black. So there was a big influence on the whole development was the orange and black.
Yeah. So You know, you're playing competitive golf. You're playing with the likes of Phil Mickelson and some of the best, you know, university college teams in the country. So you graduate college and you say, hey, I want to give this a go. I want to see if I can play golf for a living, make some money, get on the tours, hopefully someday getting to the PGA Tour. How was that experience, you know, in the time from graduating? You played many tours and you did some odd jobs to, you know, supplement some income to pay for those,
Absolutely.
for your travels?
Yep. I moved right back to Arizona after graduating college in spring of 92, moved back that fall, and my objective was to play professional golf. But I didn't have a lot of cash flow to pursue that. So my objective was to work at a golf course where they provide tips, where you can make tips in cash, day-to-day cash, store it all away for one winter, and then go hit the mini tours in the summer. So I did that program basically for about 8 years, where I would work, save as much money as I could, enter as many tournaments as I could, and basically just go as long as I had the cash to keep going. There's times I'd run out by the end of August, sometimes I'd make it to the end of the year, but I was going back in the circle of having to go back to work to kind of keep it going. So it was a great experience, and again, the beautiful thing, heading back to when I did eventually start the Orange Whip, the amount of people I met along the way, great players who became great teachers or influencers in the golf world, have all helped me kind of.
Yeah.
So the networking was tremendous from that experience.
Golf is such a great sport with just the social aspect and, like you said, networking, and a lot of people move to different parts of the country and you get to know them, so you can kind of feed off different experiences like that to bring into your professional life. You know, and also, you know, developing the Orange Whip at one point.
Absolutely. I mean, it's been amazing because, like you said, the small world, and just you learn so much from everybody else. And because I had good friendships with these people, it was easy to contact them at any time. Even when I was looking for a new job, you know, before all this, the people I met in the golf world helped me to that next step up.
Yeah. So you played the mini tours for years.
Yep.
At some point, you probably said, "Hey, I don't know if I'll be able to make it." And you still wanted to be in the golf business to some degree, and you probably still played some competitive rounds here and there, but you decided to get into the teaching aspect and coaching aspect of the game, right?
Yep, because as a golfer and wanting to improve every day, and even today at 52 years old, I want to be better tomorrow than I was when I was young. So my goal is always to get better. So teaching was the obvious direction, because if I want to get better, that means I'm thinking about getting better and steps and processes to do that. Well, I could share some of these steps and processes with people with the same passions and desires to improve. So teaching was my objective, and I would do a situation where I'd work in Southern California in the wintertime, and then travel up to the Northeast to Martha's Vineyard and teach golf there all summer. So year round I was in the golf business, but I changed my locations to follow the weather.
Right. And then something interesting happened as you were teaching, which kind of goes back to your high school days when you were battling Patrick Moore up in North Dakota. Tell us about that, how that kind of came full circle and got to a good portion of where we got today, with how you became, you know, interested in developing and seeing this motion out on the tour with tour pros.
Yep. So Patrick went on, after high school, went on to become an All-American at University of North Carolina, and then went to play the mini tours. He and I played mini tours on again, off again for 8 years or so. I stopped playing, went fully on to teaching. He continued and finally made his breakthrough and was the leading money winner on what is now the Korn Ferry Tour. Back then it was probably the nationwide tour. And was the leading money winner, got on tour. And we'd always maintained a friendship, and he contacted me in the fall of 2002 and asked, hey Hack, would you like to caddy for me on tour? And I thought, man, what a cool experience that would be, because this is where I'd have liked to have been. Now I have a chance to live vicariously through another friend of mine and see what the tour would be like. And I said, sure, I'd like that opportunity. So being able to be out on the PGA Tour, watch the best players every day hit range balls, hit shots on the course, how they handle themselves, and it was so enlightening. If I could go back in time, I would want to have caddied right after college for about 2 years to really understand good golf and then try to play professional golf. I did it the backwards way, but it was a great learning experience, and probably the greatest thing I learned was rhythm and balance, which you see up here, are the most important keys to good golf. And it was this concept that I started to develop was they were no longer taking a club and being very technical in all the positions they put it in. They were swinging the club as if it was a ball on the end of a chain, and they were letting this weight load up and unload. So I created this ball and chain philosophy that I call, if you're familiar, there's a tool called the mace and chain. Well, actually, it's a weapon. And you got that handle, a chain, and a steel ball, and you can swing it around and build up momentum and club something. Well, the golf club is a similar idea. If you can swing it like it's a ball on the end of a chain, you'll load up all that energy and unload it. So my teaching philosophy went from very technical to all feel, rhythm, and balance. And I was trying to express this to my students for years. I mean, the concept of the ball and chain came to me in 2003, 2004, in that era. And I was teaching on the side to get a little extra cash while I was caddying. And I formed this whole new philosophy that I thought I was the only one in the world who ever thought of. And then, lo and behold, I found out many teachers taught this way. And I thought, well, now I need a tool or an implement that can share this feeling with people so they fully understood it. And I set out to design what eventually became the Orange Whip in a tiny little shed at my job up in Martha's Vineyard. And I made this thing that I knew I couldn't use a chain. It would wrap around somebody's neck and we'd all be in trouble. But I came up with a philosophy using a fishing rod, some weights on each end, and surprisingly it worked out great.
And you're going to the hardware store, the sporting goods store, you're just walking up aisles trying to look at things that in your head might work for your vision. That's exactly right.
I like to think I'm an amateur engineer, but I don't really know. So I would walk around hardware stores and and even sporting goods, and try to find something that would resemble what I'm trying to develop. And yeah, I stumbled upon it through lots of failures, but eventually the successes happened, and I started using that tool in my lessons.
Yeah, and then as you're using it, what happened with the students that you were trying to teach and trying to convey this feel of what you wanted them to feel, but they had a hard time understanding it? What was their feedback to the tool that you were using to show them this feeling?
So I was always wanting them to get this athletic feel of the rhythm and balance that a tour player had. So I thought, if I use this tool that I just developed to warm them up before the golf lesson, they would have the swing and then we could get to work in the lesson. I really was just using it to give them this feeling and then allow them to take this to the next level. It was really just something to help them jump over that hurdle. Well, it turns out the first 5 people I used it with said, "Hey, Jimmy, I want to buy this thing from you." And I'm like, "Whoa, maybe I'll look into the idea of starting a business," because it was really just like a warm-up tool that became, these people want this thing. And it didn't look good. It looked like I made it in a shed. But I tell you what, it gave me the thought of, maybe I'll start a business and maybe I'll just introduce this concept to the world.
Yeah, that's cool because the way it looks today, you see it in people's bags and immediately you notice it. And back then, did it have the orange ball on the end?
Nope. I was using washers, heavy weighted washers that on both ends, because I counterbalance the device, because I like to even balance, so when you're swinging it, it keeps you in plane and in balance. But I just had heavy washers that I could adjust the nut on the top and put more or less weight to it, because I didn't know how much was perfect. Nobody really did.
And then you put counterbalance weights on it too, right?
Exactly. And then I didn't know how much to put there. So I was just adjusting these different weights, and to get to where we got to with the weight, I visited a good friend of mine, Doug Wald, in Phoenix, Arizona, and a number of our other golfing buddies, and actually Patrick Moore was there, the tour player I was caddying for, or had caddied for. And we sat around, we maybe had a few adult beverages while we discussed how much weight should be on this thing. And through trial and error and maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours of time, we all concluded that if it was evenly balanced, that was the best way for people to feel like it was perfectly on plane. So that's how I kind of solved the weight issue, was through the trial and error of us all swinging it at Doug's house. And at that time, again, it looked like it was made in a garage, and Doug said, "Oh, this is ready for market right now."
Yeah.
But we needed to clean it up a little bit.
So you're going through your research visiting hardware stores and showing it to your students, and you're like, hey, I think I've got a product here that people are going to want, the golf community might want. I got to come up with a name for this thing, right? You love orange. Well, tell us that story.
So I knew I had to have a name, and I knew it wasn't going to have a club face, because if you put a club face on a golf club, people are concerned about keeping that club face square, and that changes the athletic motion of the swing. I wanted a ball on the end of a stick because I knew they wouldn't try to control the squareness of it. I was thinking of all these sciencey names, because I like spheres or balls or sphere things, so I was going to call it Spherics. But what is Spherics? Nobody knew what that was. And then I tried a couple of other names, but nothing really was making sense to me. I knew that it was going to be a ball. I knew it was going to be a vibrant color, because when you swing it, you want to see that tracer path in front of you. It's easy to spot. Well, I happened to be watching a classic movie, The Blues Brothers, and I'm sitting there enjoying the movie, just not even thinking about golf or the tool I've been developing, just watching the movie. Late in the show, John Candy is about to arrest the Blues Brothers. They're in a facility, it's probably a little auditorium, and John Candy and his other two police officers are sitting there waiting for the Blues Brothers to arrive. And the waitress comes by and she goes, "Can I get you something to drink?" He points at the one cup. Orange whip, 3 orange whips. And I thought, man, that's a great name, because the color orange is Oregon State Beavers, but this is also the size and the weight of an actual orange, and it's a whipping motion. You're letting it load and unload, this whipping motion to a target. So instantly I knew that was the name, and there was never even a question beyond that it would be anything but Orange Whip. So and actually it's funny, it's just a catchy, fun name that people remember.
Anything with John Candy and the Blues Brothers has to be a success.
That's right.
All right, so you've got, you're up in Martha's Vineyard, you're working on these prototypes, and at one point you decide, hey, I got to start this business. I probably need to figure out where I want to develop this business, produce the product, ship out the product. So you end up moving to where we are today, Easley, South Carolina.
Yep. I lived all over the U.S. following golf, because I go north in the summers and south in the winters to work at golf courses. Plus caddying on the tour, I traveled around a lot. So I got to experience all of the United States. I knew when I was going to start the business, I had to be near a lot of golfers. I also knew I wanted to be in an area that provided pretty nice weather. So I started thinking of the Southeast initially, because Florida's got a lot of golfers. North and South Carolina and Georgia have a ton. The Northeast has a ton of golfers, but it gets cold in the winter, so I didn't want to go that far up. So I was trying to find myself on the eastern seaboard, but not right next to the ocean, because I wanted to be able to get to the Midwest easily. By good fortune, I had a brother and his family living in Greenville, South Carolina, and a sister and her family living in Spartanburg, which is just down the road from us here. And I thought, well, they're about 3-4 hours from the coast. We're right in the heart of the Carolinas, and I can get to a lot of golfers quickly. But I can get to the Midwest. I can get to a lot of places. So I thought, I'm going to start it in the Carolinas, because I happen to like the golf courses here too. They're wonderful. You've got trees, you've got hills, you've got creeks, you've got everything you need for a cool golf course. So it was a pretty easy transition to here, because I had some family nearby, and my niece Mandy still works with us today. She was my very first employee, and it's grown in a great place. So it was a lucky decision on my behalf, because of the close proximity to all the golf, and I like the weather, I like the golf. It's a great location.
And then 2008, you introduced it to the PGA show in Orlando, correct?
Yep. I'd never even been to a golf trade show prior to the January 2008 show. So I did a practice round in Evansville, Indiana. It was like January 5th. I drove up there, probably a 12-hour drive. It was snowy, sleety, cold, brutal. And I'd never been to a trade show. And we go into this dark, kind of cold, I don't even know what you want to, convention center. And I set up my booth, and I didn't have any banners like this. I had just hand-printed stuff probably. Yeah. And I walk in my orange whips, I set them down, and people just kind of came by and they looked at my stuff and kind of giggled a little bit and moved on. So it was very discouraging those first 2 days, my first 2 trade show days. But there was about 2 or 3 golf pros who did not go south for the winter, who stopped by, checked it out, and actually really liked it. So I thought, okay, at least the golf pros understand it.
Yeah.
The people who need it didn't quite get it, but the golf pros did. So that was my first introduction. But then 2 weeks later, I went to the PGA show in Florida. I was supposed to have 2 friends join me to help me with the show, because it's 1 day of the demo day, which is about a 10-hour day, and then you've got 3 days of the show. Well, two gentlemen were going to join me. One had to back out the week before, the other one backed out the day before. So I did a 4-day show by myself, and no one knew what an orange whip was, so I had to swing and demonstrate for everybody. Now that was back when I was 165 pounds, so I could do it, but that was a grueling first show, and it was difficult, but I left that show, and I remember driving home thinking, I think this is going to happen. I think this is going to work, because I think I had 95 units that people bought and took with them at the show, and I had orders of 200 more to ship out to their clubs. So I was roughly 300 units in. I'm like, hey, this is happening. So I had a boost after that show, but it was an experience. I don't know if I could do it again.
Yeah, and you mentioned the PGA members in Indiana that really liked it.
Yep.
And then you go to the PGA show, and not only the PGA but the LPGA professionals. As you start building the awareness and educating people on what you've developed, it's really those teachers, the PGA of America, the LPGA teachers and club professionals that started to fall in love with it, and then you're probably saying, hey, I really have something here, because if they believe in it, they're going to spread the word, and it's going to be great for golf.
Exactly right. And the beauty is, with these other teachers, the LPGA, the PGA instructors, and golf pros at the clubs, they have 300 clients at every one of their courses. So if they like it, they're going to share it with these players and do the work that I couldn't do. And they're going to trust their pro rather than some guy off the street wearing orange pants trying to sell them a product. So yeah, my networking, because I'm a PGA member and because of my early days of playing the mini tours and caddying, I had met so many people that I was just calling out of the blue going, hey, I got this new idea. I'd like you to try one out and see what you think, and if you can maybe help promote this in your area. It's worked like a charm. I mean, it's been great. And like you said, the teachers are the ones who loved it, because it made what was always difficult for them to teach easier. The transition and the sequencing of the motions. So, but what always makes me laugh a little bit, though, is I designed it for the really bad golfer, but it's the really good golfer or the really good teacher who gets it. So it was always unique for me, because the people who need it the most don't know that yet.
Yeah. Well, you got a couple interesting stories about some phone calls and some emails that you've received over the years, and that kind of surprised you on, hey, this is really taking off. Right?
Absolutely. I guess the first couple of times where I noticed it was on, once in a while on the PGA Tour, I'd have somebody call me and go, hey, I think I saw an orange whip in Retief Goosen's bag or Graham McDowell. So I started trying to pay more attention to that and spot that. And then what was really wonderful was Olin Brown, who is now on the senior tour, but I think he won 4 or 5 times on the regular tour. He was playing in the U.S. Senior Open, and he was the leader, the day one leader, and he won, what they call that, wire to wire. So he was on TV every day in the U.S. Senior Open with an orange whip in his bag, and he became very supportive of it. We've become very good friends, and he's done nothing but help me promote it. And another senior tour or Champions Tour event was the Senior PGA Championship. I was actually on my way to this event, and I was allowed to demonstrate the orange whips on the range for this event. While I was driving there, it was in Pittsburgh. I was driving there, and I was actually checking an email but it was a lonely open road, no one around. And I see this email that says, hi Jim, this is Greg Norman. I first tried your orange whip yesterday. I love it. It's everything that I think about in my golf swing. I'd like to get one immediately. Could you ship it to me up at Pittsburgh for the Senior PGA? I was at first thinking it was a fictitious email from a friend of mine, but it was Greg Norman. So I emailed back and stated, I will be there tonight. I will leave you an orange whip in your locker, and I'm glad to hear you like it. So he emailed back, goes, thank you so much. Please invoice me. I want to pay for this orange whip. Well, I didn't want to invoice Greg Norman, so I just left him the orange whip. He emailed me the very next day and said, hey Jim, I got the whip. Thank you. I love it. It's great. You need to invoice me. So I said, all right. So we created an invoice, sent it to Greg Norman. Within a week, we got a check signed by Greg Norman with the shark symbol on it. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. And especially coming from a tour player, because not many tour players expect to pay for anything. So when Greg Norman demanded to pay for it, I thought, man, that's a real deal. So that was a cool moment for me at the Orange Whip.
Yeah, and even when you see Norman now in pictures, we've seen him a few times when he's getting on his helicopters. He's always got his Orange Whip with him.
Yeah, it's sticking out. And that was 7 years ago when I first got it to him. Yeah. And like you said, we've seen it multiple times when he's gone out in public with his bag. So yeah, that's a cool deal.
Well, those are some of the first examples, but nowadays you see dozens of Orange Whips on the PGA Tour and the Senior Tour, LPGA Tour. There's probably a dozen or 2 dozen people a week on the PGA Tour that carry it in their bag. Not to mention the ones that warm up with it and put it in their lockers. So it really, like you said, the good players have really given you that confirmation that this is an awesome product.
Yeah, that's just it. Because with so many of them using it, and so many of the public either watching them on TV or at the event seeing a tour player carrying it, that's been great. Because I remember as a kid, if I saw a great player had the new ping irons or the new this or that, I was always very interested. So to see the tour players gravitate toward it has been very, very promising, and it helps because I designed it for the poorer golfer or the person struggling with their swing. These guys are on tour and they still utilize it. So yeah, that's been fun.
And it's great when we get calls from some of the tour guys, and we've got the rep on tour that you've started with the swing trainers. And then you developed a putter and the wedge, which we collaborated with Stan Utley.
Yes.
And now you've got the light speed trainer. So you've got this whole game improvement system and all these products, and they're all made in the United States, correct?
Correct. That's the beauty is we started out just with the swing. I was looking at it purely from the golf swing, but to transfer it towards the rest of the game, from drivers to irons to wedges to putting to speed, it all just kind of blossomed out that now we can help more golfers than I could as an individual teacher working on individual lessons. We are providing tools that allow these people to get better at golf at their convenience, at their leisure, and at how much effort they want to do. The Made in the USA aspect was something I always strived for. I thought, there's not enough Made in the USA stuff anymore. And when I was going to start the business, I had many people, these smart business people, telling me, Jim, you have to make it in China so that it'll be cheaper and you can lower your bottom line and you can do so much better. Well, I've often questioned the quality coming from some of these overseas products that are made. And I've always thought if we could make it in the US, we could have better quality control, we can keep an eye on it. And you know what? People are going to support that locally as well as even internationally. A lot of people love the Made in the USA symbol because they know that to be quality, and golfers always want quality. They're going to try to buy the best driver or best irons that they can get. So the Orange Whip is actually what they consider one of the best training tools.
Well, and from the quality to the features and the benefits, your products have won multiple awards from PGA and LPGA professionals. The best swing trainer of the year, probably how many years now? Over 6, 7, 8 years in a row. Golf Digest Editor's Choice Award. You won one for the swing trainer and the wedge and the light speed. Just multiple awards, and probably the leader in the category nowadays when it comes to swing training and rhythm and warming up and just helping you improve your game.
Well, and that's probably the unsung hero in golf is that rhythm and timing and sequencing that everyone talks about, but they don't know how to get there. We've filled that niche with the unique design of the Orange Whip, and we've stated, we've taken it to every level, from full swing all the way down to the short game, and even bringing it to the mental game, because it allows a person to free up their mind and swing it as an athlete would swing.
Yeah, and I've traveled a lot with you in the last few years. Everywhere we go, it's, hey, thanks Jimmy for inventing the great products, and you've been all over the world sharing your story, and it's a great success story. You won a pretty cool award a few years ago from the Carolinas PGA that directly involved educating people and educating fellow professionals. Tell us a little bit about that.
So I was nominated and won the Horton Smith Award in 2017. And Horton Smith was the first winner of the Masters. And that's a pretty big honor right there, just to win the Masters. But Horton Smith really later on in life was known for what he did for fellow PGA golf professionals. He shared his knowledge of how he played the game and taught the game, but also how to run a great operation at their clubs. And he spent most of his time educating other players and golfers so they could become better and share that with all their clients and the people in the golf world. So the PGA of America created this award for the golf professional in each section that provides support and help for up-and-coming PGA golf professionals. So to be nominated for that was a surprise for me, but very gratifying, because I felt that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to find that niche in the golf game that allows people to learn to swing in rhythm and in balance, and make it easier for them to adapt to the difficulties of the game, and then share that with others. So to be acknowledged for that was great. And as you know, we've at Orange Whip, we've done a lot of support and sponsorship of young PGA professionals with the PGM of America, and I've done presentations discussing how this all came to be and how I believe it will help the rest of the world. So I think some of that sharing has allowed the notice for the Horton Smith Award, and again, I'm very proud of that honor.
I know how important that award is to you. And you've also got a pretty big honor coming up that I know is close to your heart. Coming from North Dakota, you're going to be inducted into the North Dakota Golf Association Hall of Fame. Was that next year?
Yes, 2021.
Yep.
Yeah, that, again, another surprise, and but I'm very grateful because I loved growing up in North Dakota. It's where golf started for me. I have some great friends still involved with the North Dakota Golf Association, and to be nominated with some great players. We had some great players back in the day, and still today. A couple of them, Tom Hoag's playing on tour now, so they're producing some great golfers up there. And then to be introduced into the North Dakota Golf Hall of Fame is great, because it's not that I had this tremendous winning record of all these accolades that I can share, but I've had some good times in my life, and I've had some good events. I think where it really stems from is just what I've been able to do with Orange Whip and really help the golfing world. Because when I designed it for the person who struggles the most with golf. But fortunately, the best players and the best teachers immediately understand it. So they like to use it, and they share it with these golfers who struggle. So the broad spectrum of golfers in the world now have a better chance, and I'm hoping it's because of the Orange Whip. And to be acknowledged to join the North Dakota Golf Hall of Fame is a big deal for me. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, well, like I said, I know how many people, when they see you, are excited about what you've done for their golf games, and to be in this great facility. And as an aspiring golfer and a college golfer and a potential tour player to an entrepreneur helping golfers, you've gotten from the training aids. Now you're moving into golf fitness, golf instruction. Tell us a little bit more about that.
You bet. I had the good fortune of meeting a golf professional named Brian Newman. He's a PGA member in our Carolinas section. We got paired together in our Carolinas Section Championship. It's our biggest event of the year. And as Brian and I were golfing, it was in a practice round, so we had a little more conversation time. I'm always interested, because I've traveled so much and met so many golfers. It's always good for me to learn more about someone, because there's usually a tie-in somewhere when you chat with someone. Well, Brian was a golf instructor and a very good player, but he loved fitness. And you could tell by looking at this kid. He was carrying his own golf bag. It was 90 degrees, and no problem. He's in perfect shape, and he hits it a mile. And he goes, I do a lot of golf fitness training. And I go, well, explain that to me. What is golf fitness? So he had created a whole program that he calls Golf Fitness X that allows the golfer to do these workouts on a regular basis that not only get your body and your golf swing in better shape, but it's an easy, fun way to get better at the game of golf. And when we were both chatting, he was learning more about the Orange Whip. I was learning more about his fitness. We then started talking more after the event, spending some time together. He took some of our Orange Whip products and our Orange Peel, and he created better versions of the Orange Peel that can be used as almost a workout gym. So we've collaborated, and we're working together now. And like you said, we've gone from just the swinging stuff to now taking your body to the next level and your mind. So we're trying to cover the whole gamut of what is necessary to get better at golf, and how deep you want to dive in is up to you. but you can do it lightly and just keep your body flexible and loose, or you can train for the tour with what we've got.
Yeah, there's so many levels of golfers, and nowadays a lot of people are focusing on their whole golf lifestyle where, you know, they're working out for their golf game, and it seems like the products that you have and the addition of the workouts is just something that people can improve their game, you know, immediately and get fit and healthy at the same time.
Exactly, and that's a great aspect because we're all getting older whether we like it or not, but I still want to play better golf every day. I want to be better than I was when I was 22 years old, and I believe I can do it. So the Orange Whip, Golf Fitness X, and keeping my mind clear and focused are all ways to get there.
Well, you know, we can't wait to see what the future holds from, you know, you've got that mad scientist mind, new products, always something new coming around the corner. It's a great success story. Like I said, we see people and meet people all the time that are so happy that, you know, Jimmy, I just can't believe everything that you've done, and thank you so much for helping my game and for the game of golf. So, you know, speaking for them and myself, I appreciate that because you've helped my golf game a lot as well. So.
Yeah, well, that's great to hear because that's really what it's about. I mean, internally, I want to get better at golf, but I also want to see other people get better at golf. So to hear that from yourself and many golfers, it's like, yeah, it's a lot better than when I used to give some golf lessons technically, and people would come back and go, I'm much worse than I was before I met you. So
now you just tell them, swing the Orange Whip.
Yeah. And they come back and go, you changed my world. So I appreciate hearing that.
Well, thanks again for sharing your story. I know a lot of people would be interested in it, and it's always great to hear it.
Thank you. No, it's been a lot of fun, and again, if Orange Whip can make your world better, and if you can feel that golf swing, the Orange Whip is the way to get there. So, Orange Whip, you got to feel it.